All right, welcome back. Hour 2 of the Charlie Kirk Show. We have Rich Baris, the People's Pundit, founder of Big Data Poll, joining us now. I tweeted something yesterday. Welcome, Rich. I tweeted something yesterday from Harry Enten from CNN, and I saw you get into the comments, and I was like, I got to get my boy Rich on. Because you know, when I tweeted it, I was like, I thought about you in the back of my head. I was like, I know Rich is going to totally disagree, but I kind of disagree with you a little bit. That can make for a fun conversation. So Harry Enten is saying that there is no rift in MAGA, that President Trump was at 84% of approval rate within the GOP or his base, previous Trump voters. Now he's at 85%. 6 months goes by, he goes up 1 percentage point, which is nominal, obviously, but at least it's not going the other way. It's going presumably up. And this is after Venezuela, which raised some questions about our foreign policy. MAGA's America First. So how does this jive with that whole vibe? So, Rich, tell me why Harry Enten is wrong. What am I missing? The floor is yours.
So first, and for folks, maybe this was the easiest way to explain it. And as always, by the way, thanks for having me.
Of course.
Think about the MAGA coalition like a simple Venn diagram, all right? Republican does not equal MAGA, and MAGA does not equal Republican. If you looked at it like a Venn diagram, you would see in the middle, all of the various groups that come together. But MAGA is actually made up of several different groups of people. One, you're going to have those hardcore Republicans. They're Republicans. They vote Republican no matter what. And they also vote MAGA, and Trump has won the argument even with them. And then you have a smaller group of Republicans that they're not MAGA. And by the way, I mean, we have some public figures that pretend like they are, but in truth, in the populace, they've been voting Democrat for a while. They may vote for a moderate Republican or a traditional rhino or something, but they don't vote for MAGA. But they're overwhelmed, and they're like more than offset by a group of independents and even a small sliver of orphan Democrats that only vote for MAGA. And they'll only come out for America. And I don't even know if MAGA is the right way to say it anymore, Andrew, because we've had this debate over MAGA versus America First. So the messaging is getting muddled there. But for all the time that we have been tracking it, it's, in theory, this is Donald Trump's vision of America First, all right? And I know we're debating what that means right now, right? Even with the president off doing things that other people disagree with. But Harry Enten, I would warn all of you, he is a prime actor in what has long been a use of public polls to dupe the right. And the right falls for it every single time.
Hold on, Rich. Now, I remember Harry Enten in the run-up to the 2024 election showing poll after poll of Trump winning, of Trump being ahead in the polls, of Trump winning on this issue, that issue. And I'm just saying, maybe that's my memory, and maybe I'm selectively, choosing what I remember and what I don't. But I do remember him, candidly, it was Charlie's Twitter feed. It was just like clip after clip after clip, and it ended up, proving to be accurate.
He's manic. He goes back and forth on a 24-hour basis. Sure. The video that you reposted, not 24 hours before, he had just posted another video about how awful the strike polled in the public, and then he went back immediately after and did another video within a day which is the one that you posted. This is what they do, guys. All right, and think about it in terms of COVID, because it's like one of the best examples of what the media does, and people we call them over here the election mafia, right? So Harry Enten, Nate Silver, the Larry Sabato at the Crystal Ball. These guys we've long called on our side the election mafia. And what they'll do is they'll understate somebody like Trump's great. They'll understate Trump's approval rating way below where it really is. And then when he does something stupid that they like, they'll jack his approval rating up, like COVID, shut down the government, right? And then all of a sudden you'll get polls, Trump's at a majority approval for the first time ever in his administration. They did this in the first administration. And it was not the smart political thing to do. It exposed him politically. Then when that vulnerability hits, they'll crash him into the 30s, and the right falls for it all.
Yeah, no, that's fair. So would you say, Rich, though, that Trump's I guess his political backing from his supporters is pretty resilient. It's pretty stable, but it's been challenged in this first year, and even with the Venezuela strike, in new ways, I think, because again, foreign policy seems to be the hot button topic, right? It's like we don't want to focus on it. We want to focus domestically. And then when we do, everybody's scared of the neocon intervention, foreign abstractions, rabbit holes that we've followed in years past. So where are we at right now? So Harry Enten says that actually the strike is more popular than we previously thought. What do you think?
It's historically, it's basically the most unpopular military action of its kind. Grenada had 82%, even 57% approved of the military action against Syria that Donald Trump took in his first administration in response to what we now almost assuredly know were false flag attacks, right? So historically, compared to other, including Iran last year, by the way, which was very evenly divided among the American
So where's
public.
this at according to your numbers, Rich?
It's not good. It's negative. It's not horribly negative, but it is negative. And the reason why, and this is where Republicans should snap out of this haze that they're in. Democrats are never going to believe anything that the Trump administration says that Nicolas Maduro did. We're asking people not just about the strike, but whether or not they even believe the charges against Nicolas Maduro. And Democrats don't even believe the charges. So this idea that you could get into a solid majority who opposes this is ridiculous. I hate to say it, but we're actually really close to the Washington Post, Andrew. And unlike everybody else, we didn't drop the numbers right away. And there's a reason for that. The war drums, at the time they're beating, war propaganda is one of the most powerful forms of propaganda you can get. And when you initially poll, you will get the strongest level of support typically, than you're ever going to see. And then that support will decline over time. It happened with Iran as well. Even in some polls, the strikes against Iran's nuclear facilities were pretty popular. Not in ours, and I think we were right and they were wrong, but you can even see in those polls that were more favorable to that, it dips over time. So we didn't want to snap poll it. We wanted to get an accurate reflection of how the public digested everything. The question is, what comes after this? So people are going to be okay. And this is and just so people understand, my own personal views are very different from what I think how I think the public sees this or what they're telling us right now. My own personal views, if you can get a guy like that out of there, Andrew, with a limited strike like this, in a limited operation, intel-led operation, get him out of there and then bring the regime to heel, take the gold and the oil, go ahead, because we're $40 trillion in debt and you need to back the petrodollar. That's my view. That's Rich Baris's view. That's not the public's view. Unfortunately, they have PTSD over this, brother. You understand? They have PTSD over this, and the administration sold it like garbage. This was the easiest sell. Look, they stole our oil a few years ago. The Democrats were too, George Bush actually was the wiener here, but they were too weak to do anything about it. I'm taking it back because China and Iran can't have it. Period. End of story. And we're not going to nation build. That's what we're going to do. Don't give the public some garbage rehatch version of the failed war on drugs, which they laugh at and think is ridiculous. Don't insult their intelligence like that. Come out and just say, be the strong man that you were elected to be. We talked about this at the conference quite a bit. Andrew, especially voters under 45, they don't care if he acts like a Franco. They don't care. They want it. So be that guy and don't explain, that's it. I'm not going to explain myself. I personally want Greenland. Don't explain yourself over Greenland. We have to colonize space and the United States has to lead that effort. Guess what? We need Greenland to do it. Tough. End of story. And you don't even have to do that with military action. So the public wouldn't even care, I don't think, that much about that, because the question of what comes next is less of a very concerning question, right? I mean, you can leave people in charge there that obviously Western values, hold our same belief systems, right? Have been in the international order for a long time. So there's less of a danger of this crisis and destabilization. So again,
I think that's well said. I think that's well said, Rich. We're going to continue on with you in the break, so don't go anywhere. More with Rich Baris. We'll be right back. We We are back in the stream with Rich Baris. We never have enough time with Rich, so we're just gonna blow the brakes here.
I just want to, I guess I want to ask a little more on this. As you say Harry Enten and others, they directly manipulate the polls to manipulate Trump. I guess that struck me as a very strong claim. Like, how many people are involved in this decision? How do they do it? And because that's like a big swing, and I just feel, among other things, I feel like there'd probably be whistleblowers from these organizations who would cop to this.
A lot of independent editorial decisions too, but yeah, go ahead, Rich.
Yeah, I mean, the fact is that my industry is completely dominated by leftists. I mean, guys, I literally created the polling critic industry. It was like me, and that was it for years. That has grown over the years now, and thank God it has. But if you're somebody like me and you come up like, look, I think you're understating Republican shares of the vote, you get ostracized, right? So these guys, the Enten average, for instance, or the Enten aggregate that he pushed the entire cycle, excluded most of the polls that got the election correct, including ours. So, you know, when you got to watch that little writing when he puts up on the screen underneath the Enten aggregate or whatever poll he's talking about, you better look damn close at what he's citing and where he's getting it from, because all of the people who not fairly but accurately have predicted the outcome of elections in the Trump era are excluded from most of Enten's stuff. You will never see him cite, you know, one of the guys who are part of our association. That will never happen on CNN, right? So go back and look at how some of these pollsters fared in 24. They know it. The evidence of what they have been. Look, even if you were pretending that this was just a difference of opinion on who should be cited and who should not be, or what kind of data collection modes make the poll more accurate, make that pollster more accurate, and it's a methodological, you know, discussion or debate. Even if we were going to pretend for a second that that was true, which it's not anymore. I pretended for the first 5 years of my career. It's not true. But even if we were to, the evidence built up over many years, and it became overwhelming. They continued to do it intentionally, and no one's going to call them on it because, I mean, there's various things going on. There's groupthink. There's being afraid to get contracts, losing a contract with the media outlet. And in the industry post-24, they've consolidated a lot. So Reuters, Yahoo, CBS, they're all using the same online panel and same data set as YouGov.
I believe it, Rich. I believe it absolutely that they you know, I think Harry Enten's not as bad as you think he is, but I do think he probably, you know, he plays both sides. That much I can see and tell it's very true. More with Rich. We're going to welcome back Real America's Voice in just a second. All right, Blake. How much private student loan debt is labeled as defaulted or distressed in the United States?
$45 billion.
$45 billion. That's a lot of money, man. That's like more than that's like 5 Somalia, Minnesota fraud rings. Think about it that way.
Yeah, about roughly.
That's 5 Somali, Minnesota fraud rings that we know of. By the way, that's tip of the iceberg.
And then we have to get in Washington. And
Ohio, New York, California. Why Refi is not a debt settlement company, and they work with each borrower individually, tailoring each loan to each borrower's specific situation. When you find yourself with private student loans that are labeled as distressed or defaulted, you are going to want to call them ASAP. They are not in all 50 states, but if they are in your state and you find yourself in this situation, you got to call them. They are great patriots, great people, genuinely great people with their hearts in the right place, and they want to help this country. Obviously, they have a business to run, but they do it in such a way that's going to put your interest first and help you get out from underneath this financial predicament that you find yourself in. They are even let you skip a payment every 6 months, up to 12 times without penalty. They are going to ensure an interest rate under 6% and give you monthly payments that are affordable, that you can manage. Got to take control of your financial situation. That is the difference between victims and victors. That is the difference between people that are going to have a bright future and a miserable one. So you got to take advantage of their services that they offer. YREFI.com, YREFY.com, 888-YREFI34. Check out the great folks at YREFI. All right, Rich. Blake and I have taken a pretty, I would say, middle of the road approach on the Venezuela thing. I'm going to show my cards. There is something, and I watched Mike Cernovich, who's a friend of the show, kind of give his take why he supported it. I support
it. Was a great interview.
I support
it. Great interview.
Yeah, I support it, and I'm surprised that I support it because Charlie and I spent years railing against the military-industrial complex. We're going to have Secretary of War Pete Hegseth on next. We're going to talk about this. That I've devoted basically the majority of my adult political life to railing against the war machine, but this is different. This is the Monroe Doctrine, and the way you boiled it down,
Monroe Doctrine.
Monroe Doctrine.
Monroe.
The way you boiled it down, I thought was brilliant. We want our oil back. I'm not making excuses for it. Iran, China, Russia, you have no place in this hemisphere. Get the hell out. This is our backyard. We're not going to be suffering fools any longer. We're not going to be playing patty cake. Get out. This is our oil. We're going to take the revenues. We're enriching the homeland. We're securing our defenses. That's why I like it. Obviously, the proof is in the pudding how this plays out. But is there a chance, based on where you see the base at, where you see Trump voters at, that we can turn this into a win politically from a polling standpoint?
I do. I think there's a way to really give the American people a vision, because right now, Republicans, one of the main reasons they're losing, and we can get into some of the gripes that certain factions within the coalition have, but one of I would say the main reason that they lost in 25, and we go into 26 with them being the underdog here, is that they don't have a vision. They haven't given the American public an idea of what's the agenda for this year, what's the agenda for the country. And I think this is actually a really good opportunity. And I think the interview with Cernovich on Tucker was just great, because I think Mike, whether you agree with him right now or not, guys, I think what Mike started to do was lay out what kind of a vision you could give to the American public and give, which could, look, Americans are dying for something to believe in again, guys. They really are. And I'm not saying that we should start toppling governments one by one in the Western Hemisphere, but Reagan understood something about the unique identity of Americans and, what it meant to be an American. It's optimistic, it's forward thinking. And for so many years, one of the reasons for Trump's success is that, forget about a malaise, they've been in the gutter thinking, hopelessness and despair, right? And some people look at, especially younger people, they look at the situation you just brought up during the break. Student loan debt, we have national debt, we have credit card debt, we can't afford homes, right?
Our country's getting invaded, Rich. That's I tell you, that is the single most demoralizing aspect of modern American life, is that you look across the street and you don't recognize your neighbors. You go to the DMV, you don't recognize your neighbors. You go on an airplane, you don't recognize your neighbors. And there is something insidious about this. Blake, I would love to build this out from a data standpoint at some point. There is something about when your country gets invaded by foreigners where American families stop, or whatever the country is, stop having babies and stop believing in the country.
100%. Like, mass immigration lowers
fertility rates.
In the country. It's not the cure-all, because Japan doesn't have a lot, South Korea doesn't have a lot, and they're lower than
Switzerland.
us. But
Switzerland, yeah.
So it's not the only factor. But
there's something insidious about it and demoralizing about it. And this is why I constantly harp on the issue of immigration. I think it is visceral. I think there is we talk about illegal, and you still get these boomer cons that say, I support legal immigration and I'm just anti-legal. No, nope. We've had too much. We've had too much. And we are watching the erasure of American culture before our eyes. We are watching the communities that remind us of America shrink and get these enclaves get shrunk. And it's not about skin color, by the way. I think it's about pre-modern and post-modern. I'm going to build this idea out too. But it's people that see the economic system as an opportunity to get ahead, and those who view it as a extraction tool to oppress people. Yeah. That's the dividing line. Because if you look at the American opportunity as a chance to enrich yourself and your family and the future generations that come after you, then you will be a contributing member of this society. If you look at America as an extraction machine operation like the Somalis do, pre-modern, then you're gonna treat us as oppressors, and you're gonna try and take back the wealth that you think was wrongly stolen by the white man. Rich Baris, 1 minute. Yeah. Final word.
Yeah, If you look at what just the chart or the graphic that Donald Trump put out on Truth the other day about these populations and how much they take, right? What are the household percentages receiving benefits from the country? And there is this feeling, and if you're a domestic population, it does give you this sense of, I'm just losing. We're just losing, because you can see that people come in here and they don't have the attitude you have. You want to thrive, right? Where these populations want to come in, they want to survive, and they want, like you said, they want to extract, right? So they want to
fleece the system. They want to build it.
Yeah, that's right. While domestic U.S.-born citizens don't, because of course, we all have criminal populations, criminal elements, but that's not what we're talking about here, right? We're talking about people who are trying to be good citizens and then just constantly beaten down by the system that they're fleecing. Come on. I mean, it's not hard to understand why people had this sense, this like cloud, this dark blanket come over them, that the future is bleak. So again, I think this can be used as an opportunity to turn this into like an American resurgence. It just has to be done right, Andrew.
Exactly. I mean, there is a sense. I even looked at Blake in one of the breaks, and I said, I'm loving this sort of unapologetic. Yeah, we're going to take Greenland. Yeah, we're gonna seize a Russian oil vessel. I'm just saying, I like the vibe. I like the energy. It's resurgent. Thank you, Rich Baris. You're the man. We have Secretary of War Pete Hegseth joining us next.